Hello, I am Peter Okwacha. Welcome to Focus on Africa, our top stories. A triple threat to the welfare of children in the Horn of Africa as the coronavirus combines with flooding and the locust infestation.
What we need to do is we need to step up as a global community. Hunger and COVID are global problems and they require global solutions to help children, to help their families and to help the communities.
Test the truckers. Uganda and Kenya continue mass screenings amid calls for a coordinated regional response to coronavirus. The man who stood side by side with Nelson Mandela, veteran anti-apartheid activist Denis Goldberg, has died at the age of 87. Also on the program, looking after your locks during lockdown. We'll be spending some time today on how to take care of your hair while it's compulsory to stay at home for weeks.
Today I'm going to show you a quick step-by-step how to cut your own hair at home with these clippers.
Thanks for joining us here on Focus on Africa from BBC World News. The Horn of Africa is facing an unprecedented triple threat as the region is hit by the coronavirus pandemic, locust swarms and flooding. That's according to the charity Save the Children. It says more than 5 million children under the age of 5 are already acutely malnourished. Vast new swarms of locusts are expected in the region in June, and rivers have been swollen by recent heavy rain. The BBC's Emmanuel Lugunza has more.
A deadly swarm of desert locusts is sweeping across East Africa, destroying farmlands and crops. This is the second invasion in the region. Heavy rains across Kenya, Somalia and Ethiopia have encouraged egg-laying by the swarms. And once they hatch in May, tens of millions of locusts will rise in June and July, which coincides with the harvest season. The UN estimates the swarms could be up to 20 times bigger than the first invasion, putting millions of people, including children, at risk of hunger.
Right now, the rains are beginning, the short rains are beginning, and if the farmers will not be able to grow the crops early enough, there will be a challenge in terms of availability of various foods in the future, given that if the locust infestation continue without being controlled, it is going to impact a lot in the availability of food.
The Eastern African region is among the world's most food insecure. Consecutive years of drought and floods have left families vulnerable. A report by charity group Save the Children says food prices have also increased, forcing families to skip meals. COVID-19 related lockdowns, layoffs and a deep freeze on the economy are also impacting livelihoods.
So what we're seeing is that 2020 is going to be a critical year for children and their families across the Horn of Africa, as well including Ethiopia. This is due to the effects of the locust infestation that we've already had in March and April, as well as the upcoming one that we're seeing for May, June and July. This is compounded and the impact of it will be greater for the families due to the COVID outbreak across the Horn of Africa and especially in Ethiopia.
In some places, especially Somalia and more recently Ethiopia, conflict is an additional threat. Millions have been displaced, living in overcrowded camps and increasing the threat of infection from coronavirus and other diseases. Save the Children says it and other charities are doing what they can, but that the situation is completely overwhelming.
What we need to do is we need to step up as a global community. Hunger and COVID are global problems and they require global solutions to help children, to help their families and to help the communities. We need to look at hunger, we need to look at the healthcare systems, and we need to look at how we can keep children safe and protected in these times.
Across the region, at least 5.2 million children under 5 are already acutely malnourished, and experts warn that the number could increase dramatically in the next few months if no help comes in. Emmanuel Lugunza, BBC News, Nairobi.
There seems to be no let-up of the chaos at border crossings between Uganda and Kenya. Lorry drivers there are being forced to wait hours as both nations carry out mandatory coronavirus testing on them. More than 20 truck drivers have tested positive so far, and it's led to Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni to announce new control measures. Catherine Biaruhanga reports from Kampala.
It's an uncomfortable process getting tested for COVID-19, but it's something thousands of lorry drivers in East Africa are getting used to. Cargo drivers are the only ones allowed to cross the borders of Kenya, Rwanda and Uganda, which have put in place tough measures to stop the spread of coronavirus, though they face strict health checks, especially here in Uganda. It's led to a massive traffic jam on its border with Kenya. Nearly 3,000 trucks used to cross into Uganda from neighbouring countries. That number has fallen to 800. It's because of reduced trade due to COVID-19, but also because of the extra checks. Some drivers have been stuck here for days and they're fed up.
I have stayed here for the last 3 days now. There's no bathing, no washrooms on the way. We sleep in our vehicles and even eating is a problem. And by the time you reach the testing place, even those performing the tests on you are not tested.
And there are now even more restrictions. Each cargo vehicle entering Uganda is only allowed one occupant, the driver, making it harder for them if they break down. They will also have to take breaks at specific stations to limit their interactions with the general public. Drivers passing through the capital have been ordered to stop here outside the National Stadium. But as you can see, there isn't much happening. Authorities still need to put in place proper sanitation like toilets and water, as well as access to food. It's all very costly, but officials say they have no choice.
The best would have been to close the borders, but Uganda, being a landlocked country, we cannot do that. That's why we are investing a lot of money to screen every truck driver that is coming to Uganda.
East Africa still has relatively low coronavirus cases compared to most parts of the world. Countries hope they're doing enough to keep numbers down, but new cases are still being recorded almost every day. Catherine Biarahanga, BBC News, Kampala.
Let's take a quick look at other stories making the headlines across Africa and the rest of the world now. The Red Cross in Somalia says it fears the true number of people with coronavirus is much higher than the official figure of 582. The organization said there would be a large number of new cases in coming weeks. The country's healthcare system has been devastated by 3 decades of conflict. The tobacco industry in South Africa is preparing to take legal action in response to the government's decision to continue the ban on cigarette sales even when lockdown measures are eased on Friday. Last night, the government announced more than 2,000 people had signed a petition calling on the government not to lift the ban on tobacco products. And the UK government has announced a funding pledge of over $410 million in a year over the next 5 years to help fund immunization of 75 million children in the world's poorest countries. Preventable diseases like measles, polio and typhoid still kill hundreds of thousands of people each year, many of them in Africa. A veteran of the struggle against apartheid in South Africa, Denis Goldberg, has died aged 87. He joined the armed wing of the African National Congress in 1961. He was among the ANC activists who were tried with Nelson Mandela, convicted of sabotage and sentenced to life imprisonment. Andrew Harding looks back on his life.
Denis Goldberg grew up here in Cape Town, the son of British Jews. He soon became involved in the fight against South Africa's racial apartheid, joining the underground armed struggle against the white minority regime.
To become a full-time revolutionary was very exciting. The adrenaline was pumping every day.
But he was arrested with others at this farm outside Johannesburg in 1963 and charged with sabotage alongside older struggle heroes like Nelson Mandela, whose wife Winnie attended the trial. The accused all expected to be hanged, but were given life sentences instead. To many white South Africans, Goldberg was a traitor. To many black people, he was a reminder that the fight against racial oppression was not theirs alone. Goldberg emerged from prison 22 years later as apartheid was beginning to crumble.
Now we are free to be free, because it's To be free, it is not enough to cast off your chains. You must so live your life that you respect and advance the freedom of others. That's the legacy.
Can I give you your copy of freedom?
Goldberg was celebrated internationally for his role in pushing South Africa towards democracy and for sacrificing so many years of his life.
I have no regrets about what we did and what I did, except that I got caught. There have been great moments. Regrets only for my children and their sadness and growing up without a father.
In his later years, he became disillusioned with and outspoken about the corruption that flourished in the governing ANC. But Denis Goldberg retained his good humour to the last, along with his courage and his fierce moral clarity. Andrew Harding, BBC News, South Africa.
This is Focus on Africa from BBC World News with me, Peter Okwoche. Still to come, grab those scissors and clippers because we'll be looking at how to give yourself a little bit of a trim during lockdown. Welcome back, I'm Peter Okwoche. Now, hair. It's a big deal for many people, and believe me, I understand that from when I had some. And the lockdown is a pretty rough time for locks. So how are you dealing with your hair during these trying times? Are you cutting it yourself, laying your wigs, or maybe you've even bought home a relaxer kit? Many of you have been getting in touch to tell us how you're coping. Have a look.
Hello, my name is Julian. I'm from Kenya. I have sister locks, so that means I have hair freedom. I do not have to go to the salon every now and then, but I'm happy that I have many problems and hair is none of it. All I need is just my spray bottle. Great, and I'm good to go.
This is Piwayo Chilombo from Blantyre, Malawi. This is my third week now staying at home, and I've decided not to comb it, to leave it the way it is until the day that I'll go to the office. Africa, keep it safe, stay at home.
This is Makaracha in Zimbabwe. We are in our 4th week lockdown. I have not been able to go to the salon. The salons are closed, so I've decided to do my hair at home. My young sister here is helping me out. Yeah, it's actually cheaper to do it at home.
That's great stuff, isn't it? Well, in a few minutes, we'll talk to multi-award winning Afro hairstylist. Before that, another stylist, Ade Balogun, who is in Nigeria, is keeping her business alive through the crisis with tutorials. One of her clients is Chibuzo Slim Ikonta.
I just finished washing my hair and it actually came out looking better than I thought it would.
Meet Chibuzo. Chibuzo is a Nigerian dancer. Like many other people, he is struggling with maintaining his hair at home.
So I called my stylist Ade from Longitude, and she has agreed to teach me how to take care of my hair by myself. It's gonna be fun. So you just watch and you see how I learn to do my hair by myself.
So you put your lock in between your two palms and then start to slide your right hand from the top to the bottom. Exactly.
Ade is a Nigerian hairdresser specializing in dreadlocks. She had to close her salon due to COVID-19. She now does tutorials online.
We did our first test run, and I think altogether he was a happy client, and I think it is something that could be adapted going forward, depending on how long this lasts.
She gives 4 tips on maintaining your dreadlocks at home.
Wash your hair regularly, oil your scalp. Make sure you separate your hair when you're done washing it so that your locks don't start to come together. Make sure that you also massage your scalp and don't worry too much. And if you really need help, you can find resources online. All right, thank you so much. I think I have, you have finished, the time you have paid for has finished.
Well, let's go live now to Charlotte Mensah. She's a British Ghanaian hairstylist and a businesswoman who's based here in London, where she specializes in caring for natural Afro hair. Charlotte, what's your advice to people wanting to care for their natural hair during this lockdown?
I think during this lockdown, it's a really good time to just have a break from like heat styling, do lots of deep conditioning, like massage your scalp. Just take your time. Like, you're not really going anywhere. So I think it's a really good time to give your hair a break and maybe try styles that are quite, fun. So maybe tying your hair in head wraps, doing some like big braids, just simple things. Have fun with your hair, but don't do anything too much. I mean,
but Charlotte, you know that you and I know that there's some women who have got chemically straightened hair and can't live without that. What's your advice to them?
I think it is hard that you've got the two textures and you're worried about breakage. So you're like, oh God, I really need to get my roots done. But it's going to be a few weeks more, another month or so. The salons will be open. So I think it's a good time to just wait and just do lots of deep conditioning and just take it as a retreat, just a retreat for your hair. Just leave it alone. Don't do anything to it. And in a few months...
And Charlotte, you've got your daughter in front of you. What exactly are you doing to her hair right now?
So she's taking her hair out of braids. And I just wanted to just sort of show you how to do simple things like detangling, like just, like even if you braid your hair, so she had it in braids and she's taken them out. So you can see that it's naturally just formed some really nice curls. So this is another good way to kind of style your hair without using heat. So you can either do like a twist out or a braid out. So a twist out would be just getting the hair. So you brush the hair through and then you just split it into two. And then you just twist it one over the other. So overlap one piece over the other.
It looks very simple from where I'm sat here, Charlotte, and I do apologize if it's not that simple. But I hear women talking about the undergrowth of their hair. How do you take care of that?
So the undergrowth, the texture of the undergrowth is actually your natural hair. And then the ends and the middle will be the processed hair. So it would feel very different to the ends and the middle. So the best thing to do is just to condition it. So deep conditioning, be really gentle with your hair. Like even if you're comb it really gentle, because when it has the regrowth, the ends tend to be quite fragile. So be very gentle. So when you're combing it, just start from the ends first and gently work your way up. Don't yank it from the roots, because when you do that, you're going to cause a lot more breakage. And use lots of oils, like oils and butters, to really moisturize the scalp and the hair so that it doesn't feel too different from the new growth. And then you could do things like setting. So you could set with like flexi rods. You could just wrap that around your hair so that it just forms, like if you just set it with the flexi rods, you get like an even curl pattern. So the ends and the roots and the middle would all become the same. So once you take it out, there's no difference. There's no...
So, Charlotte, so I'm guessing basically your advice to people is that during this lockdown, if you're not going out, keep it as natural as possible.
Keep it as natural as possible. No one's going to see you. Just give your hair a break. And you know what? Your hair will thank you for it, because in a few months' time, the hair will feel more stronger, and you can do more with it. So once you get in the salon, it will be a lot more healthier. And, you're going to have the best style you've ever wanted.
Okay, Charlotte, I must say thank you very much for your tutorial today. It's not a problem that I have generally, having no hair whatsoever. And a big thank you to your daughter for putting up with us as well. Thank you very much. So what about the men who need a haircut? Nicky Okere is on the speed dial of many Premier League footballers and Afrobeat stars. Here he is, showing us what to do.
Hello, my name is Nicky, the only barber that breaks the rules and changes the game. Today, I'm going to show you a quick step-by-step how to cut your own hair at home with these clippers. Some of the clients I cut are Anthony Martial, Eric Bailly, Wilfred Zaha, Christian Benteke, Jordan Ibe, Jordan Ayew. And so we're going to quickly start balding the sides and make sure it's zero gap. Make sure you always push the blade a bit forward to get a sharp fade. And this is how you blend the line. You first cut on the edge, take off the dark hair on the line. This is where you're gonna need the number one. to blend it nicely. With the lining, I always like to use talcum powder to guide me. So I put talcum powder in my palm and I dip it in the line. It makes it easy to mark up. Look at this one. The talcum powder makes you know the line is straight. What do you think? The quickest way to do your haircut at home.
I've been cutting my own hair for the past 10 years, but I'll try that with my beard. Thank you very much. Now, children across Germany have been keeping their fitness up during the pandemic thanks to workout classes from the country's newest athletic star. World champion long jumper Malaika Mihambo has been running the classes on YouTube. While many athletes have been sharing their routines during lockdown, hers is one that is focused on kids, as she told the BBC Sport Africa crew.
Versucht schön stabil zu sein im Oberkörper, haltet ihr das Ganze. Versucht schön.
I am Malaika Mihambo, and last year I won the World Championships in long jump.
Weltmeister, schön, dass ihr wieder da seid und natürlich auch dem ist einfach eine gute Sache, um sich Feedback einzuholen. Wie geht's in meinem Körper?
This pandemic affects me like, yeah, it does to all the other Summer Olympic athletes. Since there are no competitions, this is not a motivational factor anymore. So right now we have all to try to find new things that keep us doing our work. And afterwards we will stand there stronger than we ever did before.
Wir lieben Malaika, weil sie mehr als eine Weitsprung-Weltmeisterin für uns ist.
I get quite a lot of feedback from children themselves.
Sie ist eine richtige Motivation und Inspiration für uns.
That they like it and they tell me what it makes them feel like, so I'm really happy about that. But I'm really doing the training with the kids because, yeah, it makes fun and it's also good for me. And there are some tasks when it comes, for example, to agility that are really not so easy even for me. So it's always fun to do those tasks. I always wanted to start an own social project because social matters are, yeah, since a long time part of my personal agenda on things that I want to do in my life. But yeah, I can also think about yeah, doing more online sessions even after the corona pandemic is over.
Macht's gut. Ciao.
And now to a story, the story of a man who's been trending here in the UK for the past 2 weeks or so. Captain Tom Moore, the war veteran whose coronavirus fundraising efforts inspired a country in lockdown, is celebrating his 100th birthday today. Captain Tom has raised a staggering $37 million for health charities by walking laps of his garden. He's been sent more than 125,000 cards from well-wishers all over the world and received messages of congratulations from the royal family and the Prime Minister Boris Johnson. He's also been appointed as an honorary colonel. Well, that's it from Focus on Africa for today. From me, Peter Okwoche, and the rest of the team. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.